What's up, y'all? Happy belated New Year, new me, and complain on Twitter about being Forever Alone Day. I am so excited to be back hosting Table Talk because, to be honest, it is the most interesting thing about me. Thanks for tuning in today. We have a fantastic show. We're talking movies. We're talking drama. We're talking filmmaking. It's going to be stellar. But first, let's give a quick shout out to Rachel and see what she's up to.
Hey guys, so excited to be back. I am so excited for the Oscars. I love seeing everyone all dressed up. That is by far my favorite part. If I'm being honest though, I have not seen any of the films nominated for Best Picture. I know, shameful. In my defense, Econ 1000 is killing me right now. Enough about that. Let's get into the show.
Today, I am joined by the wickedly talented writer and filmmaker, Mizzou student Kendrick Smith. Thank you so much for being on with us today. As I'm sure you know, we are in the middle of award season, and next up is the Oscars. The 91st Academy Awards will be this Sunday, February 21st, and I thought it'd be fun for all of us to make a few predictions about the winners. Honestly, though, I don't know much about the Academy Awards other than the fact that there's always killer fashion to look forward to. Rachel, what can you tell us about the awards?
When did the Academy Awards start? The awards were first presented in 1929, and winners received a gold-plated statuette commonly referred to as the Oscar. Another fact you may not know is that to be eligible for an award in a given year, a film must be publicly admission for pay in Los Angeles for at least 1 week in a commercial theater. Back to you, Jewel.
Okay, there are so many amazing categories, but I thought we could all just pick a few and make our predictions. So first up is going to be Best Picture. All right, y'all, first up, we're going to be talking about Best Picture. So nominated for Best Picture, we have Black Panther, Black Klansman, Bohemian Rhapsody, The Favorite, Green Book, Roma, A Star is Born, and Vice. Now, okay, to be completely honest, I've not seen all of these films, but I did take some time to watch trailers, look at scenes, clips, so I kind of have a good idea. And I know, Rachel, you have not seen all of them because Econ is kicking your butt, so that's okay. But so who did you have in mind? Who are you thinking deserves to be Best Picture?
So personally, I think Roma deserves Best Picture.
Okay.
I don't think Roma will get Best Picture.
Yeah. It's always that kind of thing, right?
Yeah. For me, sadly, I'm pretty sure A Star is Born is going to win.
Yeah, that's who I have highlighted too. I've never seen it, but it's the most talked about film. That song Shallow is everywhere. You cannot go anywhere without hearing about A Star is Born or whatever. So that's why I have highlighted as thinking that they might win. Black Panther, I'm not even really sure why it's in this category.
It should not be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, that's the real tea that we're serving. I don't even personally like superhero movies.
Oh, I agree with that.
I like the fact that there was a social aspect. It kind of talked about social issues, but other than that, it's just a superhero movie.
Good movie, not a Best Picture movie.
Yeah.
I'm also kind of surprised. I obviously, as I've said, I haven't seen these, but for Bohemian Rhapsody, I hadn't gotten a lot of good reviews from people. A lot of people were genuinely disappointed with it, so I'm kind of surprised that it's nominated because I really didn't get the best reviews from people, and a lot of people, especially who were big fans, were really disappointed by the way that it was played out.
Yeah.
I think people like biopics. I think a lot of people like Queen.
Yeah.
So I feel as if the Academy had gone forward with their popular, most popular movie category, Black Panther, Bohemian Rhapsody, and A Star is Born would have been in that category, not Best Picture. But because they didn't go through with that, they threw them in there.
Yeah.
I think there are other movies that should be on this list.
Like what?
Personally, my favorite movie of 2018 was Sorry to Bother You. Amazing, incredibly fun, fresh. I also really like Colette. I don't think it would have gotten Best Picture nomination, but I feel like it should have gotten a nomination, and it didn't. Neither of those movies got nominations, which I thought was kind of a tragedy.
Yeah, kind of a small tragedy. And then just, Rachel, going off what you were saying about Bohemian Rhapsody, I feel like there were two categories. It was people who were already fans of Queen and really loved and were really passionate about the story. They didn't really like the movie because it wasn't entirely true to the original story. And then there were those who just liked the movie because it was a good picture. You know what I mean? So it was like kind of split in half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our noms for Best Picture. And then next we have Actor in a Leading Role. So for this category, we have Christian Bale from Vice, Bradley Cooper, A Star is Born, William Dafoe at Eternity's Gate, Rami Malek from Bohemian Rhapsody, Viggo Mortensen from The Green Book.
I know, as I've said, I haven't seen any of these movies, but I know that Christian Bale won the Golden Globe, and I mean, I've just heard from many people that, like, you don't even recognize that it's him portraying this role, and that, like, he does such a good job with it. So, I don't know. I mean, I want Bradley Cooper to win because I feel like it's kind of like that whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing where he's been nominated multiple times but just hasn't won yet.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I can see the case for Christian Bale and why he could win.
What about you?
It's another one where I think sadly, so not necessarily sadly, Bradley Cooper's gonna win.
Sadly, Bradley.
No, sadly, Bradley. No, I think he's done a good job portraying his alcoholic musician character.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like looking at him shirtless.
I would agree
Me.
with that.
He's not my type, but I don't know. I think he'll win. Rami Malek did a really good job in Bohemian Rhapsody, so I can understand the case for that, despite the fact I'm not a huge fan of that movie.
Yeah.
Christian Bale just he blends into any role he kind of
That's
does.
the tease for the night.
Yeah, right. And I haven't seen Vice. I really wanted to, just because I'm a big fan of The Big Short, and I can't remember the director's name off the top of my head for whatever reason. So I really wanted to see Vice, though I heard it was a little disappointing.
Yeah.
But yeah, long story short, I think Bradley Cooper's going to win. I personally don't have any strong feelings towards
Yeah.
any of these.
Either way. Yeah, for me, I put that I believe Bradley Cooper might win just because of the clips that I was watching. I haven't seen the full movie, but I was watching some clips, and he really was, like, taking his time with the role. It's not a role that I've, like, ever seen him play. Like, when I think Bradley Cooper, I think The Hangover for whatever reason. But, like, he really took his time, and he really gave us, like, full alcoholic, like, I have problems vibes, and like he played that part very well. So it's between him for me and I'm sorry I'm butchering his name, but Rami Malek from Bohemian Rhapsody, just because that movie was so big, and I feel like he really dove into that character as well. So
Yeah.
Kind of going off that with Bradley Cooper, I mean, God, what's that movie? He's with Jennifer Lawrence. It's such a good movie.
Oh, Silver Linings Playbook.
Yeah, Silver Linings Playbook. When he was able to embody that character, like that, I feel like he could do the same for like A Star is Born,
Yeah.
like having mental illness and like being an alcoholic musician. Like he delves into those so well that
Yeah.
like I think that he's worthy of winning.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay, so just for now, we're gonna skip over to actress in a leading role. So for this one, okay, these names are very hard for me. So we have Glenn Close from The Wife, Olivia Colman from The Favorite, Lady Gaga, Star is Born, Melissa McCarthy, Can You Ever Forgive Me, and the leading actress in Roma, whose name I cannot pronounce.
Is it Yalitza Aparicio?
Yes, close.
That's along those lines. Listen, I am a huge Lady Gaga fan, and I don't think she needs. I don't think she should. I don't think she should win. But I would really think it would be cool if she did. But it's not gonna happen. And I know a lot of Lady Gaga fans, including like my cousin, will be very upset with that. But I mean, I think it's cool that she got nominated.
That is very cool that she got nominated. Whether or not she deserved to be nominated, I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah,
I've only
neither
seen the
have I.
clips, but like.
I'm gonna say, man, I really wish I knew how to pronounce her name.
The leading actress from Roma.
The leading actress from Roma. If I had to bring it down to two, her and also Melissa McCarthy, I loved Can You Ever Forgive Me? And seeing her do something a little bit more dramatic
Yeah.
in comparison to like her normal comedic
Yeah.
like kind of roles, it was really interesting, especially because it still did kind of have that comedic edge
Yeah.
that she has. I was a huge fan of that. So yeah, definitely down to those two.
Yeah, I also outlined Melissa McCarthy to win this just because, you know, like you said, she is usually like that comedic role. And from the clips that I saw, to see her be that like sad, like desperate cat lady, like it was very like, I mean, I've never seen her like that. And I just love her as a person, as a woman, like as a comedian. So she deserves it. But yeah. So does anyone have any other final thoughts, final predictions, anything you're mad about?
Things I'm mad about. Oh, I could go on.
On and on.
Wreck-It Ralph should not have gotten a nomination for Best Animated Feature.
Yes.
Incredibles 2 should
At all.
win, that's all.
Incredibles 2 should win.
I like Incredibles 2 a lot. It was a great sequel. I definitely think that I don't think it should win,
Yeah.
just because I'm a huge fan of Into the Spider-Verse.
Well, I've never seen that, but
Okay.
it's all right. I'll take your word for it
it's
because you are so talented. I will take your word for it. But anyway, all right, guys, those are our predictions. Rachel, get off of my table. Thank you very much for joining us for this conversation. All right, guys, if I was right about any of those predictions, I need someone to run me my money, okay? Run it. Run my money. After this commercial break, we'll talk more about Kendrick's personal filmmaking style, and later we'll even get to see a bit of his incredible work. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Table Talk. I'm your host, Jewell Samone, and today we are talking all things filmmaking. And we've just made all of our Oscar predictions. Now that I think about it, though, a lot of the same movies and actors were nominated for a vast majority of the categories. Rachel, what can you tell us about the winning history of the Oscars?
Well, first, I want to start with, we were just talking about the star of Roma, and her name is Yalitza Aparicio, so I just wanted to correct that. But going into that question, who has won the most Oscars? You might be surprised to find out that it was Walt Disney. He was nominated for 64 awards, and he won 26. That's more than half the amount he was nominated for. Back to you, Jewell.
So Kendrick, as a filmmaker yourself, I'm sure you can appreciate an award show like the Oscars. So I just want to kind of talk to you about like your personal filmmaking style and everything like that. So how did you first get started with filmmaking?
I got into film essentially the senior year before I came to Mizzou.
Okay.
I had a friend who was really into film, and for our high school we did this film thing, and it really kind of got me interested. And I originally came to Mizzou under the J School, and the summer welcome, so like a week before school started, I was like, nah, not
Just
doing
never
that.
mind. Cancel it all.
And then I joined the School of Arts and Sciences for an English major, and then I switched out of English major to do digital storytelling once that major was made, and an English minor.
That's awesome. So what is it about film? Because I know originally you said you wanted to do journalism, and then you were just like, never mind, thinking next journalism, like get out of there. So what is it about film that, like, of all the mediums that you like the best?
So I work in a lot of different mediums, but film is definitely my favorite.
Yeah.
Just because it's kind of a combination of all of the ones that I work in, as far as like photography, video work, audio storytelling, and all of that. It's just kind of a huge blend of that. And as far as like telling stories, I think that there's a lot of room as far as like creativity and ways to kind of bend ways that we tell stories that I find to be incredibly enjoyable. and just personally very satisfying.
Yeah. So when you make your films, are you like, is it all you through the whole like pre-production, production,
God.
post-production, like?
So it used to be like that, but you find out very quickly that
Yeah.
films are a very collaborative
Yeah.
process. It cannot be made by. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess it could.
Technically it could, but
Technically,
like,
it can
who
be
has
made
that
by
kind of
just one
time?
person.
Like,
But trying to schedule people, find locations,
Yeah.
cast actors, do storyboards, shot listing, filming, editing, audio work, all of that by yourself is not going to work
yeah,
out.
not really gonna happen.
It's not going to happen.
So we were discussing earlier just like our favorite films and
Mm-hmm.
films that you thought got snubbed for an Oscar nomination. So what is it that you first are looking for? Like, what do you as a filmmaker, like, how do you see films differently?
Okay. I guess I have two answers to this.
Yeah.
My first answer is like the very like aspect of like watching films. I think as I've learned more about film, and a lot of my friends who've also done the same, the less I can kind of watch films just out of pure entertainment.
Yeah.
Because I kind of get lost in watching them, and I immediately like, how did they do that? I'm trying to like break down the process of
Yeah.
how they made the film. So I'm like not just watching it to be like, oh, this is a fun movie. Like every time I'm just like, oh man, what millimeter lens are they using for that? Oh, that's an interesting camera angle. Oh man, that's interesting blocking. How did they do that?
Yeah.
Why did they do that? So it's changed that physical aspect of watching it for me. But as far as also like it's also changed definitely what I look for in films. I'm much more interested now in watching films that take chances
Yeah.
as far as like what kind of stories they're telling, how they tell those stories, which is a lot of the reasons why, like one of the reasons why I don't like A Star Is Born is because this is the third remake.
Really?
I guess the second remake. This is the third time this movie has come out. And it's like just kind of boring.
Yeah.
Like I definitely understand like people's enjoyment of the rags to riches story. But there's like nothing particularly very interesting about that story. It's
just kind of tired.
Bradley Cooper finds Lady Gaga at a drag performance, really likes it, brings her on stage.
Yeah.
Now she's a star. He gets drunk and they hang out, and then another concert. This is just kind of the rotation of that movie.
Yeah.
But like for my favorite film of 2018, Sorry to Bother You, that was a story it's a very similar rags to riches and then kind of back to rags again kind of story that's so interesting, that like perspective and that kind of analyzation of culture that I really enjoyed, that I haven't quite seen before, and it's told in such a creative way that it really just drew me into it. And that's mostly kind of what I'm looking for, is just like interesting perspectives on
you haven't seen before
Yeah.
to like draw you in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So who would you say like, or I guess like who director wise or like what kind of style, like what inspires you? Like what do you know what I mean?
My favorite directors are definitely, I'm a huge Coen Brothers fan.
Okay.
And I try to emulate that kind of darkly comic style.
Yeah, I'm not actually, could you give me like just some examples of their work?
They recently just did the Ballad of Buster Scruggs on Netflix.
Okay.
No Country for Old Men, Fargo.
Okay.
Their kind of style is generally like someone's trying to accomplish something and then it just goes really, really wrong. And it just like keeps getting worse.
Yeah.
And like just the strangest ways, and I really kind of like that style.
Yeah.
And another director I really like, I'm gonna butcher his name, Yorgos Lanthimos. I can't quite remember his last name.
Rachel, help us out on that
Yes,
one.
please. Good, but he's nominated for Best Director for The Favorite. He also did The Lobster, Killing of a Sacred Deer. He has a very kind of surreal, almost awkward style.
Yeah.
Where it's like a lot of his movies, a lot of people watch, and it's very hard to get into his work because it's very off-putting at times.
Yeah.
Like there is a scene in The Lobster where a woman jumps off of a building, she's like lying dead, like in the middle of the courtyard, and the main character is trying to seduce another woman while this is happening. And they're just like having a plain conversation while this woman is screaming in the courtyard. And it's one of the funniest scenes.
So it's an acquired taste.
It is very much an acquired taste, yes. But those are, I'd say for right now, the big two for me as far as like styles that kind of draw me a lot.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So walk me through your creative process. Like, what does it look like from idea, like, you get inspired, you have an idea, and now we have a final product.
Okay. So, well, I could do it for a project I'm working on now. So a lot of my ideas for stories just kind of come from like a question.
Yeah.
It's like, what if this were to happen? So I am working on a film right now called I Love You, Elliot. And it started with me and my friend Marcellus. We were in a screenwriting class, or right before screenwriting class started, and we were listening to a jazz song. I can't quite know if I can say the name of it, just because
That's all right.
Yeah. And we were listening to it like, wow, this is really interesting. Like, oh, I can imagine like an animated thing to this. And the question like, oh man, what if this animated thing happened? And then it ended with someone just like crying. It finishes with someone crying, and we were like, what is that story? How did this lead up to it? And then we just started outlining that story, kind of building on top of that. And we took like 6 months to write it, and then we slowly started pulling on people like, hey, you're a person that I've worked with before as my assistant director, as a producer. I need your help finding locations, finding these things.
Yeah.
So the pre-production process is a lot of finding people like, hey, you've done this before for me.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in this project? And thankfully for this one, it's been pretty easy to get people on board. And then from there, you just start casting, and on set, things are chaotic.
Yeah, probably.
There's always 2-3 problems that you need to solve, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
But the entire thing, it's just a huge collaboration, and finding a lot of different artists and a lot of different people with a lot of technical skills that are interested in the project, that you hope can add something positive to it. And it's incredibly rewarding for me, very satisfying. Not even the end result, just like that process of working with other people to try to tell the story that hopefully everyone working on it is very passionate about.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like I can like sense your sense of passion for like the collaborative spirit and everything like that. But we're going to go ahead and take another commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll take a look at one of Kendrick's amazing short films. You won't want to miss it. Welcome back, y'all. Rachel, do you have that director of the favorites name pronunciation?
Yes, so his name pronunciation is Yorgos Lanthimos. His name is Greek, and he's a Greek film director, so it's a little harder to pronounce, but I listened to a pronunciation, and it's Yorgos Lanthimos. So back to you guys.
All right, thanks for that, Rachel. I am still here with writer, filmmaker Kendrick Smith, and right now we're about to check out some of his incredible work. Kendrick, do you want to tell us a little bit about the short we're about to see?
Yeah, so I made this for Campus Movie Fest. It comes to Mizzou every year. Well, starting last year. Last year was the first year that it came here, and you essentially have a week to make like a 4 to 5 minute short film.
Wow.
And so we did that.
Yeah.
so that's what we did. And thankfully it won one of the 4 jury awards, and then we went to their larger convention in Atlanta called Terminus this past summer, where it also got shown, and we got to see a lot of really awesome work from like people from all across the country. It was super dope.
That's awesome. Let's check it out.
My father died in this car. My mother did too. Not at the same time, of course. My dad was driving home from work one day. He was robbed, assaulted, shot. They found him floating in the river, dirt and blood under his fingertips. The police didn't even find the car. My mother did. A listing on Craigslist, used car, $4,000. She used the last of her money to buy it back. Didn't even tell the police. She didn't care about justice. She just wanted the car back. My mom killed herself. She overdosed pills, suicide. She had an empty bottle of pills in one hand and an empty wine glass in the other. She seemed so peaceful lying there in the passenger seat. I almost didn't want to move her, but I had to go to school. My father was a drinker. Mother hated it. It made her drink. Funny enough, he wouldn't come home until late. He'd slam the door shut when he entered. The sound shook the whole house and woke me up. Most times I was only pretending to be asleep, waiting for the sound. I'd hear them yelling downstairs. She would plead for him to stop. She would cry. He would throw things. I don't have many memories of my mother. We didn't spend much time together after all. She spent most of her free time smoking cigarettes in the car. The smoke would get so thick that it would hang like a fog, blocking the windows. It smelled so terrible. My father hated the stench. She spent the rest of her free time crying in the car. I knew never to disturb her. She needed her peace. I suffer from mixed anxiety depressive disorder. The doctor calls it MADD, mad. My father called it stupid. My mother didn't call it anything. It's the reason I have a hard time sleeping at night. It's the reason I have a hard time talking to people. It's hard to work through. My doctor tries to help. It used to work. Not so much anymore. The car is mine now. I can still hear them whenever I'm in it. Mom's crying, Dad's yelling, all of it blurring together, a constant murmuring in the back of my mind, the back of my mind, in the back of my mind, a burning sensation, burning, 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 burning in my eyes, burning in my hands, and burning in my feet and eyes and mind, burning in my mind. The longer I stay in the car, the hotter it gets. Do I get out or do I stay? Do I stay? Do I die? Do I die? Do I die in this car? My father died in this car. My mother died in this car. I'll die in this car too. Not at the same time, of course. I've tried to get out. I'm trying to get out, but they make me stay. Stay in this car I inherited from them, from their corpses. Stay in this car and burn in it. Burn with them. Die with them. Do I die in this car? Or on my own terms?
Thank you so much, Kendrick, for hanging out with us here at Table Talk today and allowing us to showcase your work. If anyone out there wants to see more of this extremely talented artist, you can search him on Vimeo or YouTube. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.